Thank you so much. So we will get started. Just want to welcome everybody again to our 67th South Fresno CSC meeting. Before we go into the logistics of tonight, we're going to take a few moments to walk through our interpretation instructions. So I will pass it to Tanya from Lingüística to walk us through those steps.
Thank you, Liz. Buenas tardes a todos, bienvenidos a su reunión. Les recordamos que ya la interpretación simultánea está disponible para ustedes. Si desean escuchar la junta en español e ingresaron con una computadora, en el menú de abajo de su computadora van a ver el icono de un mundo. Seleccionen ese icono y seleccionen el canal de español. También les invitamos a silenciar el audio original para que nada más escuchen al intérprete. Si ustedes ingresaron con un teléfono móvil o con una tableta, sus opciones van a ser un poco diferentes. Necesitan tocar su pantalla y van a buscar el menú de los 3 puntitos. Seleccionen donde dice interpretación de idioma. Después seleccionen el canal de español. Nuevamente silenciar el audio original. Y por último el botón que diga done, listo o finalizado. Si necesitan ayuda o asistencia, por favor déjennos saber en el chat. Muchas gracias y ahora voy a dar mis instrucciones en inglés. Hello, everyone. This is just a reminder that we already have simultaneous interpretation ready for you. So if you're a monolingual English speaker, we do ask you to please select the English channel. That way you can hear the interpretation from Spanish into English. If you're joining with a computer, you'll see a globe at the bottom of your Zoom menu. Please select the globe and select English. If you're joining with a cell phone or a tablet, your options will be a bit different. You need to tap your screen and find the menu with the 3 dots. Select language interpretation, select English, and then select done. If you need any help or assistance, please let us know in the chat and we can help you through it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Tanya. And this is Liz again, and give me the thumbs up when the interpretation is ready to go. Perfect. Okay. So if anyone, as Tanya mentioned, is having any issues right now hearing the interpretation, please do feel free to unmute or write in the chat. Please do let us know. So we will continue to move through our housekeeping slides. Here we have our renaming conventions. This is, again, to help us for our attendance tracking and stipend distribution process. So for our CSC members, we ask that you put the CSC in your Zoom name. And for our residents who are part of the stipend program, we also ask that you add the letter R. You may see us changing your name throughout the meeting. For all other folks who are joining tonight's meeting, please have your agency or organization name in your Zoom name so we can, again, keep track of who's here. For those who are joining as members of the public, we also ask that you put the letter P in your name, and we will be sure to call on you in our points where we have public comment throughout the night. On this slide, we have our virtual meeting etiquette. We ask for folks to stay muted unless you are currently speaking. And if you are calling in on the phone, you can press *6 to mute and unmute yourself. And we also ask for you to raise your Zoom hand if you have a comment or question. And if you are calling on the phone, you can press *9 to raise your hand. And just a reminder for our residents in the stipend program to stay on for 75% of tonight's meeting. On this slide, we have our group agreements. We don't always take the time to read through these at every meeting, so I won't take the time tonight, but just know that these are always being upheld as your facilitators. So now you are seeing the agenda for this evening. We'll have some time for our continued welcome and introductions. We'll review the action item tracker. And then most of our time tonight will be spent talking through some SERP implementation updates. Then we'll have our normal standing updates, and then we'll talk about next steps, some ideas for next month's agenda, and we will move to wrap up the meeting and have our final public comment. So I will stop sharing my screen and just want to welcome everybody again. For those who are just joining, my name is Liz, and I am one of the Harder and Company facilitators. I'm joined here by two of my colleagues, Michaela and Amy. We will be working behind the scenes to troubleshoot any technical difficulties to make sure that everyone is able to fully engage in tonight's meeting. So feel free to send a direct message to any one of us throughout the night if anything comes up. And just another reminder for our interpreters, one practice that we are reminding everyone about is to state your name before speaking. And this helps keep track of the flow of the conversation when things are being interpreted. And so at this time, I am happy to continue moving us along into some of our opening remarks, and I'm happy to invite Ryan to kick us off.
Thanks, Liz. Really appreciate it. Happy to be here tonight. Ryan Hayashi, Deputy Air Pollution Control Officer with the Valley Air District. I've had a lot of opportunity to work with all of you, so I'm sure introductions aren't necessarily needed, but I did see some new names and faces on here, and so definitely wanted to provide that information. Yeah, no, excited about the conversation tonight. Hopefully have some really positive updates for the steering committee members, and want to hear the feedback and thoughts on the topics that we're going to be discussing, and any other feedback for us. So thanks a lot. Thanks for being here and spending your Wednesday evening with us. It's greatly appreciated.
Thank you, Ryan. And this is Liz. I'm happy to continue moving us through the agenda, and we can talk through some of the action items. So as most of us, I think, in this meeting know, we dedicate this time at the beginning of our CSC meetings to review the progress and make sure that the CSC is kept in the loop on all of the progress that's being made towards your suggestion. And so as Nancy is presenting these action items, please feel free to ask any clarifying questions, and anything that needs follow-up, we will be sure to note down and come back to it at a later time. And so I'm going to pass it to Nancy.
Hi, everybody. This is Nancy. Thank you, Liz. I am going to be going through the action items tonight. I did go ahead and just drop down the I'll go ahead and drop down the action items in the chat, just in case anybody wants to follow along. And I'll go ahead and share my screen. Can everybody see that? Great. All right, so we are going to go through the action items from June. So it's been a while since we have all gathered around and just had a great discussion about everything that we've been doing and everything that's been going on in the community as well. And so this is just another routine process that we do, just so we can all be on the same page and be transparent about everything that we have been doing. And yeah, so let's begin. Okay, so we are going to start off with the in progress action items. And so this is going to be from June. And so action item 66.4, this is in regards to a question that we got with the electric buses for Fresno Unified. And so we did get a little bit more information. So 6 electric school buses will be delivered around June 2025. And so, of course, as we get more information, we will definitely be sure to share it with all of you. And for now, we are just waiting to see what when these buses get here. All right. And so we are going to move on to the completed section. Action item 66.1. This is in regards to the city of Fresno. That was in regards to the draft EIR, which is Environmental Impact Report. And this is just so to provide a little bit more information. So we did go ahead and send out an email on behalf of the city of Fresno with the draft environmental impact report and additionally information on how to submit a comment for the draft EIR, which is environmental impact report. And then moving along, we do have a few action items to go through. This is 66.2. And this is in regards to the Air District will review the South Central specific plan to provide comments on behalf of CSC. And so the Air District did provide comments on the South Central specific plan on July 30th. And we will also plan to share this, this comment letter with all of you. And so stay tuned for that. Moving forward. Action item 66.5. This is in regards to having a CSC member asking about the possibility of getting a new truck through the measure for the truck, and wanting to know a little bit more about the program as well. And so we did reach out to the community member and provided her with additional information, program guidelines, and how to go about applying for that. And so additionally, if anybody has any questions regarding program guidelines or wanting to know more about any of the incentive measures that we have, please feel free to reach out to us and we will get back to you as soon as we can. Moving forward, action item 66.6. This one is regarding the CSC may provide feedback to the city of Fresno on the truck study report. And this was due by Friday, June 14th. And so that was the time where people were able to comment on this. And so it is now closed. And moving along to action item 66.7. This is in regard to seeing the Air District to elevate which feedback has been shared regarding the truck reroute study to date. And so throughout the truck reroute study, Air District coordinated with the City of Fresno and participated in the Community Advisory Group, CAG, and Technical Steering Committee meeting and public workshops to provide feedback. And so the last action item is going to be on the ongoing. There we go. 66.3. And this one is to facilitate CSC input on any changes to SERP measures. The Air District will provide proposed addendums to CSC ahead of the CSC meeting. And so we, the Air District, will continue to provide information to the CSC regarding changes to SERP measures. And so I do see a few questions in the chat, so we can go ahead and just open up the floor for any questions and comments.
This is Liz. Thank you so much, Nancy. So the first question in the chat is, which schools will receive those buses?
Hi, Liz. This is Brian Dodds. I'm the program manager in the Grants and Incentives Department. I'm looking through the information we have to see if it's readily available for those buses. If so, I'll provide it during this meeting. If not, we can follow up with that information as well.
Thank you, Brian. This is Liz. Do you happen to know for the next question, what are the routes for those 6 buses?
Yeah, I think those are basically the same questions. So I'm trying to
Okay,
find that information and all the application information we have from Fresno Unified.
Yeah, I think
They're
last time we
actually
talked
not
about
the same question. This is Venice Curry. They're not the same question. And I think we've been asking this for a bit because
Yeah.
I know for me, I'm interested in knowing not only the schools that are receiving the buses, but the routes that these buses are taking and whether or not they cover the areas that students that are most impacted by cumulative poor air quality are going to be the ones that are served. So for me, that's still the question. And I'm hoping that we can get an answer, but we have been asking this question for a bit.
Yeah, yeah, we definitely haven't forgot it, Dr. Curry, and we did communicate that with the school district, in regards to the topic of where they're going to be operated, which schools they're going to serve. I think right now that kind of still being, almost 10 months away, I don't think those decisions have been made to my knowledge. But we will be in discussions with them and definitely have that information for you when it is available. So we'll continue to leave this on here, and so it's not forgotten. And as we get more information, we'll provide updates in this as well as bringing it back and verbally provide that update as well. I'm sorry, this is Ryan Hayashi. Apologize. I got to practice.
thank you, Ryan. This is Liz. And thank you for the questions. And I see another in the chat, similar question. And so it sounds like we'll get more details for all of those questions, which we do acknowledge have been asked before in these meetings. So once we get that information, we'll definitely bring it back to the CSC. And thank you for bringing those up. I'll just pause again to see if there are any other questions coming up for those other action items that Nancy read, or if not, I can transition us to the next agenda item. Okay, I'm not seeing any, so I will pass it to my colleague, Bekela.
Thank you, Liz, Bekela here, and thank you, Nancy, for that update with the action items. So with that, it is now time for us to transition to our primary agenda item of the evening, tonight's SERP implementation update. And as you might have recalled during our last meeting in June, 2 whole months ago, we had the opportunity to learn directly from you about several recommendations for improving SERP implementation. And so we just want to thank you, each of you, for your continued dedication to elevating the very real barriers to SERP implementation. And our aim is that today, just as in previous meetings, you can continue to leverage your community expertise and lived experiences to offer these creative solutions and thoughtful feedback. We recognize that this can be a really vulnerable place to be to share this feedback. And so we just see you in that and honor the generosity and time and energy to continue showing up in this South Central Fresno CSC space. And so this is our collective space, and we're committed to learning what works best as the evolution of the work continues to unfold. So with that, as we transition into our time of listening to SERP updates, we do plan to stop periodically throughout the presentation to allow time for questions and concerns which emerge. These are important, and we really want to make sure that your questions are answered. And I just want to take a moment to thank you for continuing to elevate questions that have come up before and that you're asking in this space. And so we just really appreciate them. So yes, we want to make sure we get to the questions during the presentation. And so yeah, please feel free to use the Zoom chat to go ahead and ask any questions that arise, and we'll plan to address them during those periodic pauses. And so with that, I'd love to transition to the Valley Air District, Ryan. Ryan, take it away whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Bekela. This is Ryan Hayashi. And I'm happy to be here and give some updates. And let me start by sharing my screen. Does everybody see the right screen? Okay, great. Let me check as well. All right. So one of the first things, so a few updates that we want to provide was on was Community Clean Air Day, which was held now a little over a month ago. It was a great event. I also want to talk about and provide an update on the public fleets, which we've had several conversations about now. And then lastly, passenger vehicle replace updates. Sorry, I'm just adjusting my screen to try to see as many people as possible as I go through this. So want to start off by sharing some appreciation with the South Central Fresno Steering Committee. And in particular, I really want to thank Naimeen, who's on tonight, Janet Gardner, and James Autumn, who all participated and helped plan the event. In addition to that, Naimeen planning it, she also was an excellent moderator for one of the panels that we held in regards to community engagement successes. And Lily is on as well, and so definitely want to thank her for her participation and uplifting all the awesome and fantastic work that she's doing. And it was overall the event was really meaningful and impactful. It brought together people from all parts of the Valley, a lot of Valley residents and environmental justice advocates and community organizers, and brought everybody together to talk about topics really important to communities, about things that community members can do, how they can get involved, what resources are available to them. And a lot of it was from the voices of the community members themselves, and I think it was really impactful for the people that were there, and it was a great opportunity for them to get to know and to meet people from across the Valley that are experiencing similar types of challenges in their lives. And so it was very meaningful. And another really positive thing about the event was the youth that were involved. There were a lot of families that were in attendance, youth advocates that were there, wanting to learn how to become more involved and more engaged. In addition, definitely want to make appreciate all the CSC members that were able to attend as well. I saw Dr. Curry there, and appreciate her attendance as well. It's important that we were able to get CSC members there to share in the experience and talk with people from all over the Valley. So I don't know if anybody had any questions about the event, or before I move on, or any feedback. We'll move on to the next slide. So the next one was the public fleets outreach that we performed. During the last meeting, we had made some commitments to do more outreach to more organizations that qualify for it, and really want to thank Nancy, who did a great job giving the action item updates. She's one of the primary people that's been doing outreach, and I was really excited to see some of the applications that came in over the last several weeks. We had the Kawa Recreation and Park District submit some applications. We had Orange Center submit some applications, and so All total, just within like last month or so, we were able to get about 11 applications. And so we're still engaging with a lot of them. And so we're expecting to continue to see a lot more come in. But really just, appreciate her efforts in that area. And so here's just some numbers in regards to that. So just as a reminder to everyone, we had committed through the community emissions reduction program $8 million towards this measure. So far, we've funded 12 vehicles, but then we have 11 more applications in right now. But the funds would provide funding for 300, and so that's a lot, and especially in consideration of some of the timelines that we're looking at. So we're still seeking additional participants. I think getting to the $8 million is going to be very challenging, and so we have a potential recommendation that we want to hear from all of you in regards to that. So the next one is the passenger vehicle replace program, and definitely appreciate Jose Marin, who's here from Valley Can, and I saw several other Veronica and Herman as well. I hope I didn't miss anybody else. But super exciting update on that measure is that all of the $1.6 million that has been committed or all the $1.6 million that was in the community emission reduction program for that measure has been committed. So we got applications in for basically that total amount, and it was one event that was held, and they got over 73 applications from the one event, and so it was very well attended. I know a lot of you were very helpful or instrumental in helping for that to be successful by getting the word out to everybody in regards to the event. So congrats to all of you, and thank you. And I think it's it's very exciting that it's going to result in a lot of emission reductions, a lot of replacement of older vehicles, and getting people into cleaner hybrid, plug-in hybrid and electric vehicles. So kind of what that looks like. So the 1.6, we estimated to get about 80 vehicles. As I mentioned, we have 73 applications right now. It's up to $20,000 through this. Depending on what type of vehicle, it may be a little bit less. If you get a plug-in hybrid versus a completely new electric. But with that being said, I think it's definitely shown that there's tremendous demand for this measure in particular. And so wanting to bring up the potential and the possibility and kind of gauge the interest from the steering committee on whether or not there would be interest in shifting money from public fleet vehicles. Like I mentioned before, it's going to be extremely challenging to spend that money in the timeframes that we're looking at. And then, kind of commit it over to personal vehicles where we're seeing tremendous interest. So one of the things that we hear, and I really appreciate this about Dr. Curry. She's asking about what are the emission reductions? What is the difference when we're shifting or looking at shifting funds? What's is there a benefit to doing that, like in terms of emission reductions? And so the public fleet program is not it's not a requirement to replace an older vehicle. It allows for fleet expansion. And so there is, whereas the passenger vehicle, you have to retire a vehicle. You have to retire, and it's got to be an older vehicle that have more emissions. And so we did some calculations on what 150 vehicles would look like. So if we did $3 million, from public vehicles, what the difference would be. And so we're looking at, a 1.2 ton emissions reduction benefit by replacing the personal vehicles versus the public fleet vehicles. So I think when you're looking or considering about transferring funds, like who does it potentially benefit? B, what are the emission reductions that we're looking at? And I think in this case, it it has a twofold benefit, through potentially shifting that funding. So this is kind of the same process when we've talked about possibly shifting funds. So right now there's over $7 million available for public fleets measure currently. Even if we were to fund those other 11. So if people are interested and said yes on that, that would mean that we would shift $3 million to passenger vehicle replacement from public fleet vehicles. So take that number down, public fleet vehicle down to the 5 million versus the 8 where it's at right now. And then B would be, no, it's like we want more information. We want to hear more before, kind of looking to do that. So wanted to put it out to the steering committee on their thoughts and opinions on this. Yeah, the reason why we're bringing it up now is because we see that there's demand right now. And so, if we were to get support for this, then, we would get it moving right away. So just a couple of things, opportunities in the past where we've brought this to the steering committee. This is not the first time that we've kind of gone through this process. We did it for urban greening, where we shifted $1 million to that, and we added $500,000 to support residential wood burning. We've done it for, sorry. So those are just some other examples where we've done this. And so I know we have some people that may not be as familiar and may not have the history of, why we've done this or when we've done this. And so that's just kind of wanted to go through some of those examples. But at this point, I want to, turn it back over to Liz and Bekela and, hear from all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Yeah, thank you for sharing more information with us about this. And so with that, at this time, we would now love to open up the floor for any and all questions that are coming up for any and all of you as you hear this information, as you perceive this information. And so what kind of questions are coming up for you about what you've just observed and heard? As folks may be thinking, I'll also read aloud the message in the chat. I'll read it in English. The comment, Roberta, I personally liked it, and that they gave me the opportunity to the young people to express themselves. Everything was very good. My children had the opportunity to accompany me and experience who is part of the committee and to encourage them to be a part of it in the future. And this is Bekela speaking. So thank you so much. Yes, I love that. Okay. And so yes, for any questions that are coming up for any of you, please feel free to use the Zoom chat to respond or the raise hand feature or to unmute. And I see that we have a question from Naomi. Go ahead, Naomi.
Thank you. Well, I think is you made a good point of moving money from public fleet to this individual support, so more residents in the AB 617 area can change older vehicles for cleaner vehicles. Sounds all great. I just have a couple of follow-up questions. One is, and one of the reasons that I think in general, in addition to the reduction of emissions, I think I like the idea is that, when we see that entities that would take advantage of where the money is right now, public fleet, are, the way I'm interpreting that, those are public entities, either the city or rural transit or what have you. And I always see these agencies as agencies that have opportunities to access funds through other means, compared to a resident that has to save, for years to even be able to afford like a hybrid or even an electric car. I personally think it's technology that is still very unaffordable for a lot of our working families. So with all that, I think it's it seems like a good idea that I would support. But I want to know if there could still be, for example, some funds left to continue supporting like the public fleets, if you will. And more than the public fleets, I was thinking of other models that have been popping up in certain parts of the city, such as rideshare programs, right? Where you have, I believe one of them is run by the African American Chamber of Commerce, where they have electric vehicles that, people can sign up to use. And for people that, live in Southwest, for example, where sometimes they have to walk for blocks before they can get to the closest fax stop, and then you have the problem that, it doesn't run all the time. And I mean, we all know the obstacles of public transportation in the city. So I'm just wondering if there could be money left behind to support, not so much, frankly, I wouldn't be a champion of keeping money there for fax. I think the city should and must have that obligation to procure that on their own dime. But for those other kind of more alternative models where residents can still have access to like cleaner vehicles, even if it's not by them acquiring a personal vehicle. So I think that was a lot, but let me know if I didn't make sense.
Thanks, Naomi. This is Ryan again. And to answer some of it, yes, well, we'd have to look in. I got to go back through the SERP again and just, make sure that's something we could look at. The kind of what I shared earlier in regards to some of the organizations that qualify maybe don't have them, like, like an Orange Center or a Cal or Recreation and Park. They may not have funding, so this type of program really helps out. And the other one, another one that we're working with right now is the EOC, Fresno EOC. And so through this, there would still be $5 million. So like taking this $3 million doesn't take away. There's still a lot of money in that, and for that purpose. So
But I think, the example of the EOC is a good one, because we know that EOC has programs that serve not only the city of Fresno, but rural areas as well. So how would you ensure that these vehicles are only used in the AB 617 area, and that they're going to be used to serve like residents that are considered living in underserved communities? So I think, I don't know, I'm not too sure if those things can be controlled, if you will, if you go that route of EOC.
Yeah, so when we sign agreements with people, and Brian, this is Ryan Hayashi. Brian, feel free to jump in if I miss anything. We have to contract with anybody that agrees to participate in this program. And what that means is they have commitments to operate the equipment and the vehicles, and there's reporting that they have to do, to us to demonstrate that.
Yeah, that's correct, Ryan. Yep.
Okay, doing good. I got something right. Appreciate it. but so I mean, you raised some good questions about the public fleet side, but on the passenger vehicle though, I mean, it sounds like you'd be supportive of, shifting that funding and, providing that opportunity to, up to 150 more people. Yeah. Appreciate it. Is there anybody else? I was curious if anybody had an opportunity from the CSC or knew anybody that attended the event in person. And if they had any thoughts or opinions on it and, had any feedback.
And I know this is Helen speaking, so sorry to interrupt you here. Yes, but I know some of us, myself included, can be visual learners and processors. And so I'm wondering, would you feel comfortable putting up the decision tree again, kind of indicating what the ask is, just to help refresh our memories?
Everybody see it? Yeah.
So we can see it. Amazing. Yes, thank you so much, Ryan. So with that, I see that there's a question that came through from Dr. Curry. Other question, the 150 additional passenger replacement includes the 73 applications you currently have received, correct?
No. So this would be in addition. So the number, if we shifted the 3 million, it would then be 223 at minimum. It could be more. So it's in addition, the 150 is in addition to the 73. Oh, Michaela, we can't hear you.
Oh, this is Helen. Yeah, thank you so much for that question, Dr. Curry, and for responding, Ryan. That was a really helpful good question for us to know and to have that clarity around. Yeah. Yeah, I'm wondering what other questions are coming up for folks as you kind of process this. Are there any other questions that arise for any of you that you feel like you would need answered before you can provide your input? And I'm also wondering, Naomi, yeah, does it feel like your question earlier was, yeah, fully answered, and want to make sure that if not, that question is?
No, it was fully answered. Thank you. I'm very curious also, like you're saying, I would love to hear, especially, Lily, I had to put you on the spot, but I know that when we initially were meeting, one of the things that you mentioned is that the vouchers that people were receiving, for example, to take their cars to get fixed, or to replace. Before the amount was less, and I think it was like 9,000 or something, for all their cars. And I think, Lilia, you mentioned to me that like low-income people, even when they received that amount, it was not enough, and that they really could not take advantage or do not want to take advantage of this, because they would still have to put a lot of other money that they might not have handy, or they might not have credit to make up for that difference. So we'd love to hear if Lilia thinks that this increased amount would overcome that barrier and would make it more meaningful for residents in the AB 617 area.
Hey, Naomi, just before Lily responds, just for clarification, did she talk to you about the vehicle repair or the vehicle replace program?
I think it was a replace one, that one, because in the past it was like you received like 9,000. Was that correct?
Right, and so through this, remember, we worked with the CSC and the recommendation was to raise it to 20.
Yeah. So
yeah.
I think it's a great idea. I just would like to hear, because she expressed
okay.
that. Por Lilia, no sé si está por ahí que pueda.
I don't know, Lily, if you're there, if you can tell us something about it.
Or Estela or any of the residents that you know have good connections with other residents, Marta, Araceli. Everybody's super quiet tonight.
Can't hear you. This is Amy. We can't hear you, Michaela. But I see Bill's hand is raised. Go ahead, Bill.
Yes, one question I have is where is it going to get us the most bang for our buck as far as reducing the emission elements and so forth? You know, maybe we need to look at some of the primary factors that are hazardous to the area, and then see where we can spend money to help reduce the bad emissions.
Thanks, Bill. This is Ryan. And so that kind of going back to that previous slide, where we showed that if we were to do this, this would actually get over an additional ton of emissions by transferring the money towards this measure. So that does get more emission reductions, and it's really important because where these emissions are being generated, they're right there where people are, like where they live, where they play. So there's oftentimes we, as an agency, we've focused on the regional benefits, but something like this really benefits at the local, like right there in the neighborhoods, in the community, by getting rid of older vehicles that definitely produce a lot more emissions versus battery electric or plug-in hybrids.
Yeah, that's my point. Is like, is there around schools a lot of older cars or in certain areas? And are these a major contributor to the problems we're trying to offset? So that's good information that maybe we're on the right track by eliminating or upgrading some of these older vehicles that are causing a problem or causing more pollution than perhaps the public fleet vehicles.
Yeah, that's correct, Bill.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. And I'm seeing that Araceli and Estela didn't understand the question. So Araceli and Estela and anyone else, I think Nayamin had a question about your own experience in using some of these funds for the vehicle replacement program.
Can I rephrase, because that's not exactly what I asked, but lo que estaba diciendo.
What I was telling is that if you think that the $20,000 that are given for to the people who have a vehicle that's 2006 or older could be enough, and they could help, so the people really can apply and receive this incentive. And the reason that I'm just saying this comment, because before they will give them only $9,000, Lilia made a comment that she knew some residents that they weren't even able to apply because the car will be more expensive and they have to finance the rest, and they didn't have enough money. So my question is not if you know someone, but if you think in your experience, knowing that the people are having certain number of money that they receive, this will be helpful for them and they can take advantage of it.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre
Well,
es
good
Estela,
afternoon. My name is Estela.
yo
And
opino en lo
in my
personal que,
opinion, personally,
no es recomendable a veces
I
porque como
don't
nosotros somos
recommend
de
it
bajos ingresos,
sometimes
no
because we
calificamos
have
para
low
carros
income,
así
so we don't
tan
qualify
caros.
for a car that is too expensive.
Entonces,
So
pienso que no.
I think that no.
No sé las
I
demás
don't
personas,
know
pero
other people, but
pienso que no.
I think it's not.
Can I add that while you guys were discussing, I called Lilia and I noticed that I think she left the meeting. So she said that just like with Araceli, she had a very bad connection because she's not in her house and that she couldn't hear, so she disconnected. But I asked her the exact same question and she's gonna reach out to you to provide you the official answer. But in her opinion, in contrast with Estela just said, she said, in her opinion, 20K will be good for a resident to take that, apply for that and get a vehicle. So 2 different opinions.
Thanks. I mean, it's Ryan Hayashi again. Yeah, and you know, Jose can definitely share this. And the nice thing is it's not just 20,000. That's 20,000 from the district, but there's actually additional money out there, like the 4,000 from I'm trying to remember who it's from. Brian, is it PG&E?
PG&E,
Yeah.
yes.
So there's like, in addition to that, there's even more. And so by working with ValleyCan, they definitely connect all those different funding pieces to, you know, hopefully make this, affordable for more and more people, which is really important. We understand that, not everybody has a lot of money to, or can, go and get financing and things like that. And so, putting this whole package together, hopefully, and based on the first event, it seems like there's a lot of people that are excited and able to do it.
Yeah, Ryan, if I was just going to add, and this is Brian Dodds again, the program manager on grants and incentives. In addition to what Ryan was talking about providing assistance to stack some of these incentives to offset some of the cost, there are options within this program to purchase used cars, which are substantially less, and you get a less incentive. You can get maybe 12,000 instead of 20,000 for a used car, but some of those used cars are much more affordable in the $15,000 to $20,000 range. Certainly, new electric cars are expensive. We've seen a couple people that have gone through the AB 617 program already and purchased a new car, and those new cars are $40,000 and above, most likely. With the incentives that are available, you will still have some to finance, but I think we're really trying to meet the residents' needs. And if a used car that's more affordable is a better option, then that's what will provide help in achieving. If it's a new car with the stackable incentives is something that they want to pursue, then we will, and ValleyCan is very one-on-one with this process, try and provide assistance there. So kind of providing a variety of options for folks that if it is doable for them, it helps them get into something that's not only cleaner from a air pollution standpoint, but also much more reliable. And we've heard from people the benefits of having a newer car, that they don't have to worry if it's going to get them to work or not get them to work on any given day. So kind of a lot of different things to unpack in terms of what the incentives can provide here.
Thank you, Brian. This is Mikela. And yes, I see a question, Benjamin, or raised hand. And Martha, I also see your question in the chat that we will come to in just one moment.
Yeah, this is Germán Prado, Leadership Engagement Manager with ValleyCan. I just wanted to add to the conversation. Everyone talking about incentives and additional rebates from PG&E, CSC, SCE, sorry. There's also a partial sales tax reduction that passed about a year ago. So as you're going through the process of purchasing a vehicle, the dealership will reduce it by 3.975 on the sales tax, which depending on the vehicle could range anywhere from several $100s to maybe over $1,000 or more. So this is part, and there are some qualification requirements, and we'll deal with that. There's also another one. It's an IRS tax credit that has its own requirements as well, and could be a $4,000 rebate. So just adding to the conversation that there's potentially up to 20,000 plus the 4,000 for PG&E, SCE, and another tax reduction from the sales tax, and then another possible rebate. And also, I just wanted to add that, like, for example, a $30,000 vehicle with a $20,000 incentive brings obviously this vehicle to a $10,000 with fees and taxes. You're looking at 16,000 maybe. That's a $300, $400 on the high side of an like interest rate. We're talking about 15.99, which is our max. That compared to what we're hearing from families that they're spending just on gas alone, it matches, or sometimes there's a lot of savings there. So the folks are spending $500 to $700 in gas per month, and the vehicle finance at 16,000 could potentially be a $400 payment, saving them still some money. So just some anecdotes, I guess we've heard, some discussion, just one-on-one conversations with the public. We've heard that it has been helpful. And I just wanted to add that to the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hedemon. We really appreciate you continuing to, providing the additional feedback information for us, just so we can continue to gain all of the helpful information that's beneficial for us. And so thank you for that. And yes, I'll also elevate a couple of chats that have come through, one from Roberta about the $20 million will be more substantial and less than the debt of a financing since they are expensive. The chat from Estella around there are very few charging stations. And then the question I see from you, Martha, which is, will this incentive be given before looking for a vehicle, or do I have to look for the vehicle, make the contract with the dealership, close the contract, and then the incentive will be given? Great question.
Yeah, really good question. I'm happy to answer that one. This is Brian again. So the process is you'd apply for funding. There is some documentation that we need to collect, and then you're approved and you can go shopping for a vehicle. When you pick out a vehicle, and Valley Can is there to provide their assistance, the dealership holds it and they request the incentive amount from us. And then when we issue the check, Valley Can and the dealership will schedule an appointment with the resident to buy the car, but the check is presented at the time of purchase in order to offset the cost of the vehicle right away. So there is an application process to go through where you would get approved and know exactly, that you can participate in the program, and then we provide the check when you buy your car. That's kind of the high level overview of how the process works. But the idea is to immediately offset the cost of the car with the incentives that are available.
Hi, Brian. Bikela here. Thank you. Thank you so much for providing that additional information for us.
You're welcome.
Okay. And so, yes, definitely want to, so with that, I definitely want to make sure that we continue to ensure that everyone's questions, as much as is possible, can be answered. And so at this point, would love to ask any lingering questions for any of you about this proposal for funding reallocation, what funds would be left, the process, any other process related questions coming up for any of you at this time. I'll leave a few seconds of pause here as I wait to see if any questions come in or if anyone unmutes.
Are we expected to take a vote on this today or make a decision today?
Great question, Nayamin. Bikela here. So we are not hoping to take a formal vote just because we recognize that in the official language of the official Fresno CSC South Central Fresno Community Steering Committee consensus / voting guide and expectations document, such a long name. There is that language that says the committee may only vote on items that are posted as part of the agenda for the meeting at which the vote takes place, just so that members of the committee and the public that are interested are aware of that item in advance and can take part of that process. So the hope is really to assess a consensus, and if there is consensus and we don't need to go to a vote, then we would like to we would aim to build consensus. However, if there is if there is a conflict in how folks are kind of landing when it comes to this yes or no or other questions that are continuing to emerge, then we would need to hold off on a formal vote until the next meeting. So the options are either building consensus or going to a formal vote, depending on how folks are feeling and navigating this conversation. Does that make sense?
This is Amy, and just adding to be really explicit, for CSC members that are present today, any CSC member, are there any oppositions to this proposal as it stands right now, or any questions, clarifications that you have? Any oppositions? So because we're not seeing any oppositions as of right now from any CSC members, we are interpreting that as a consensus to move forward with the yes. All right, we'll go ahead and move forward so we can move to the next update, Ryan.
Thanks, Amy.
Yeah, thanks everybody, and I appreciate the questions. I thought we had a lot of really good questions, and thank you, Naimeen, and helping connect Lilia back in and making sure that you know, her thoughts and opinions were shared here, and really appreciate Estella also sharing.
She texted me that she had tried to send her, because I'm like, please try to communicate this officially to their district. I don't want them to think that I am, you know, like being a middleman here, a middlewoman. So she sent a text to Anna, but then Anna replied that she's on vacation, so she tried.
Okay. Well, thank you for playing middle person and getting us that information, and I think it was helpful in the conversation. Those were the updates that I had. You know, Michaela.
Thank you, Ryan. This is Liz. I think I'm still seeing no other questions or final thoughts from the group, so I think we can transition to the next agenda item, and that is our standing updates. And as most of you know, we take this time at the end of our CSC meetings to give space to agencies and our CSC members to provide those important updates on what is going on in your community. For tonight, we have a couple updates, and then we can open it up to see if others in this group have anything they would like to share. Our first update will be from the Air District, and I believe I will pass it to Zong to share a little bit.
Thank you so much, Liz. This is Zong with the Valley Air District, and just wanted to share with everyone here at the CSC that we are gearing up with back to school outreach, and with schools going back, we are going to be out to the schools that we can get in touch with and have packets for parents sharing information about wildfires, as well as where they can access air quality information, as well as attend back to school nights, the ones that we can get to. So if you know of any schools that have any upcoming events, please let us know, and we can definitely reach out to them and see if we can get out to those schools. And if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer any, but I don't think I see any hands.
This is Liz. Thank you, Zong. I also don't see any hands, but maybe we'll just ask one more time to the group if folks have any recommendations, on those schools to prioritize or target for that outreach. I know folks often have some good suggestions, but this isn't the only space that you have to share that. So feel free to reach out to the Air District if some of those recommendations come up. I'm still not seeing any hands, so I think we can move to our next update. And that is from Carb, and I see Jennifer has unmuted. Take it away.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Liz. I apologize. My camera is giving me issues today. This is Jennifer Magaña from CARB, and the only update that we really have is that on Monday, August 12th, we sent an email with actually a long list of standing updates to the Air District to distribute to all San Joaquin CSCs. We are working on a Spanish translated version. Hopefully we can get that out to the Air District by the end of this week. But to quickly recap, AQView 3.0 is now live. The AB617 story map is also now live on our website. And lastly, the Cycle 5 public workshops will be taking place August 20th and August 22nd. So again, we will make sure that we have a Spanish translated email sent out prior to those deadlines. Thank you.
This is Liz. Thank you so much, Jennifer. And sounds like if you didn't jot down all of those dates and events that were just shared, there will be an email sent out to everyone with all of that information. But I'll pause again to just ask the group if there are any questions or thoughts that you'd like to share at this time before we transition. Okay, I'm not seeing any. And before we close out our standing updates, I will open it up to our CSC members. Does anyone have any updates about events going on in the community that you would like to announce to this group at this time before we close out this item? Okay. I hope the heat isn't what is causing everyone to be a little more quiet today. I know it's been a little rough. So if I'm not seeing any hands raised for announcements, I think we can close out this item and talk about our next steps and some agenda setting. I think before we close out with our usual reading out the action items and announcing those next meetings, I think we were hoping to spend at least a few minutes or so talking about some ideas for our next agenda. I'm not sure, Ryan, if you had any proposed agenda items that you wanted to share at this time for the group. I see maybe Nayamin has some thoughts.
Yes, I think I was absent at the last meeting, so can we hear an update on the rerouting study? And I don't know if the update can start right now. Like, for example, I think we also drafts and all that. Is it finalized? Is it going to go now to the city council for a vote, or what are the next steps with that? I know that several of the attendees to the subgroup that have been working on this, and I am not part of that, but my coworker Natalie has, and I know Dr. Curry has been very active. We had a lot of concerns about what at that point was the draft, almost finalized draft of that plan. So I don't know if we can hear something right now and then a more detailed report at the next meeting.
Thank you, Nayamin. Great questions. And I think we may have someone from the city here. I see Lance. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I got an update for you guys on the truck reroute study from Department of Public Works. The South Central Fresno AB 617 Community Truck Reroute Study and Fresno Community Environmental Health Impact Assessment is actually scheduled to be presented to City Council on August 29th. The agenda, which is typically available the Friday before, which staff can send to the Air District to share out as well. It should be posted online on the city website in addition. DPW would like to thank everyone for continued commitment through the process. CSC has served as an instrument component to this critical effort, and it's been very helpful to have the CSC identify the goals, AB 617 goals, and provide advice to the city on how we can better connect with the community. With the completion of the truck study and health impact assessment, the city staff will be proposing to the city council removal of approximately 43 miles of truck routes. Change does not happen overnight, but this is a significant step forward and one part of a greater effort moving forward for our community. So big date on that one is August 29th. And agenda will be released 3 days before on Friday, or the Friday before rather.
This is Liz. Thank you, Lance, for providing some of that information. Is there any maybe additional follow-up that Naomi, you might want to hear at the next meeting specifically? Feel free to let us know.
Yeah, how the discussion goes on August 29 and what are the plans for implementation?
Thank you. Any other questions coming up about what was just shared, or any other thoughts for what you would like to discuss at next month's agenda or at next month's meeting? I'm not seeing any in the chat. It does sound like, at least from Nayamin, and there's no opposition from the group to have some of that discussion to hear how that meeting goes and what those outcomes and next steps are. And I know there are a lot of other moving pieces for the SERP, and I'm sure the Air District will also have more updates to present to the group. This is not the last time you will have to provide feedback on the agenda. Just as a reminder, those draft agendas are sent out to everybody by email at least 2 weeks in advance of the CSE meeting, and then you'll have a week to provide that feedback before it's finalized. So take your time to think a little bit more about it. If you have any other suggestions or thoughts, do feel free to reach out and provide that feedback to the Air District. Okay. So I'm not seeing anything else coming up, so it sounds like maybe we can move to closing out our meeting. Just want to thank everybody so much for joining, and I hope you've been staying cool. I know it's been pretty hot in Fresno, and we just really appreciate everybody who continues to show up and ask these important questions and keep folks accountable to the progress. And oh, I see a question. Does the Air District have a position on the recommendations, and is that for the truck reroute study?
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, thanks. I don't know if it's Ryan Hashi with the Air District, and you know, the recommendations that the city and the steering committee and the input that have been provided, I think reflected what the committee was asking for in terms of addressing what is happening right now. And I think there have been a lot of good points that were raised by the CSC and others in regards to what the future looks like. But in regards to the truck study and how it impacts trucks in the neighborhoods now, and looking at the, where things were rerouted and taking trucks out of a lot of the neighborhoods that were being heavily impacted, I think it hopefully is going to achieve those goals. And so I'm very hopeful. I think, the point that was raised by Nayamin in regards to implementation, that's going to be the key. Like, it's one thing to adopt it, but it's another, how are you going to enforce and implement it? And so definitely want to hear more about that and continue to hear about that.
Yeah, thank you. This is Dr. Curry. I'm just curious, how can this committee make certain that we are weighing in on the implementation strategies? And I am always curious how forcefully the Air District will defend what has been recommended based on the contribution and the concerns of this committee. How well will that be communicated, and what's your sense of the challenges that might be ahead besides the obvious implementation of it all?
One of the things I think that has served me best in this position, I'm going to be an eternal optimist. And, I kind of look at where the starting point when we kicked off the truck reroute, and, kind of the things that were outlined that the community was looking for, and, seeing initial iterations and hearing all of your voices when we're looking at it, and feedback that we're providing to the city in regards to, what we're hearing from you, and then seeing it get incorporated. That was very encouraging. And so I mean, I don't want to speak on behalf of Lance, but I mean, that was very encouraging to me to see that stuff, and not only that stuff, but how they incorporated the health study as well, and looking to put in buffers and following those recommendations. All of that is, to me, is very encouraging. And so but at the same time, it's got to be proven, and you have to do the work. And so there's been a lot of money that's been put towards this. And so I think, in terms of, if it was well spent, it's going to be on how it's implemented, not the document itself. So yeah, I mean, we're going to be, very interested, and we're going to want to hear the updates as well.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Curry and Ryan, for the response. It sounds like more information will come, and maybe even at our next CSC meeting, sounds like there is interest to continue some of this discussion. And no harm asking questions as they come up at the last minute, always open to taking those. So thank you. And I do see another in the chat. I think some confusion around the new truck routes. And it sounds like we'll take down this question, and we'll come back with more answers at the next CSC meeting. Thank you for all the questions. And so at this time, again, I can move us to closing out the meeting. And we don't have to keep you here any longer than needed. We know you're very busy. So again, just want to share all the appreciation that we have for taking your own time to be here and to keep this work moving forward. So I hope you all have a good evening, and thank you. Good night.
Thank you, everyone.
You too. Thank
Good
you.
night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.